and namaste. This is Preeti Adhikari, the founder of the Great Nepali Diaspora, and this is TGND Beats, Diaspora Ka Kurakani. This is where we showcase the lives of global Nepali professionals and share their stories of struggle, perseverance, and success. And today we have not just one, but two very special people that I think I can say I love. I love what you're doing for the community. And that's why, I would love our community to get to know you better. Just to get started, Sabin Pradhan is our lead for the Data Science Hub, and we'll talk a little bit more on that. And then Ashra Acharya used to be our chapter leader for SF, but by the time this episode comes out, she will be the director of community growth for TGND, and I'm super excited for both of you. But apart from this is just what you do for TGND. I think there's so much more that you do in the world. So let's start with Ashra. Ashra, tell us who you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashra. I work at Bessemer Venture Partner, supporting the fintech, vertical SaaS, and consumer teams. Outside of TGND, I have a dog that I'm very passionate about. I love walking. I live in SF, so we have the beautiful views everywhere to just bask in the nature. And I moved to US from Nepal when I was 9 years old, grew up in Dallas. I went to UTA, studied political science, did nothing with it. My background is normally in operations, but now I just enjoy bringing people together. So I work collaborating with different teams, curating events, and just bringing people together.
And Sabin, on to you.
Yeah, and thank you for the introduction, Ashra. I am very energized. The people piece that you mentioned, I have seen it in action, and I am inspired. I'm Sabin Pradhan. I am the data science manager at General Mills, and I support our strategic revenue management side of the organization. So if you see any promotions in store for General Mills products, my team helps build the AI tools that our sales teams use to plan those pieces. Came to the US at 19, been here for about 11 years now, came here for school, and then lived in New Jersey for a little while, and then now moved to Minneapolis about 5 years ago. Outside of my work, I help, as Preeti mentioned, I help the TGND Data Science Hub, and I kind of lead the initiatives there. I'm trying to start up our Minneapolis chapter for TGND. And outside of all of that, I also invest in real estate. So that's me.
Awesome. A lot of really interesting things. To begin with, I think I want to sort of go into your backgrounds a little bit more. Very different sort of in terms of when you came to the US, 9 versus 19. And I think that sort of changes a little bit in terms of your experience here and your experience as Nepali, as a diaspora or Nepali American, whatever you want to call it, right? But Ashra, you can get started in terms of your memories from Nepal. I know it's been forever, right? Do you have any special memories from Nepal?
So one of my favorite memories from Nepal, and my friend's going to hear this and laugh, is my dad came to the US 2 years before we did. And he had sent me at that time Disney's Princessco Collection Ko storybook, Saru. And I was so excited, America, but I got this storybook one, and I took it to school, and someone ripped a page, and I threw this big meltdown fit. I made my friend feel so bad about it. And then everybody made this big deal about it. And that, I think, till this day is my most memorable memory of Nepal, just being in school go groundma. I studied at Loyola, so it was in the middle of lunchtime. And everyone's hearing me screaming, crying, and about this torn page of a book that I don't even care about anymore. But I think that's my most memorable memory.
Awesome. Sabin, what about you?
So this one is something that recently I was thinking about. And your question kind of jogged the memory. In school, I wasn't the most studious of students. Never a class topper, if you will. Definitely very, very average. And one of the teachers that I had, Father Miller, in school, he was one of the few people that always, valued interaction in a way. Like he was always very cheerful, and when he spoke to me, he was very very like not respectful, but like he believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself, and more recently like, passed away, unfortunately. But that was one piece that I got to tell him that, and that I feel like helped me so much through those times in terms of finding my own self. So that's a memory that I cherish.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for sharing these. Next, I just want to talk a little bit more in terms of your identity as a Nepali Vanumna, right? In terms of coming to the US on like different ages, and we've all gone through that, right? Figuring out who we are and all of that. Didn't plan it like this. That I love that we have very diverse experiences, right? In terms of age groups and so on. Ashra, timro kesma, like, did you have, were you always invested in the Nepali community growing up, right? Because you spent most of your young youth here. Or have you seen, and the reason I ask is because a lot of people are now in your sort of shoes, right? In terms of either being born here or, they've lived here since childhood. Did you see or experience like this up and down sort of thing in terms of your Nepali identity, or has it been a constant? What has that been?
So it's really funny. My parents make fun of me now that I'm so involved in the Nepali community. But when we moved here, we moved in 2002, right after 9/11 in Texas, of all places. I was not welcome. I was definitely bullied, and it was a big culture shock. Like, you come from Nepal and you have everyone around you looks like you, and you come to a place where no one looks like you, and your parents are your only support system, but they're like immigrants working, trying to build their own identity here as well. So I actually hated being Nepali for most of my young age. I didn't even go by Ashra. I used to go by Ashley. It is the most embarrassing thing, I admit, nowadays.
You should start calling you that.
No, please don't. But I just I didn't find a group where I fit in. Like at school, and we had like a Nepali group in Dallas in the community where we lived in, but everyone that I was associated with there had been here for much longer. Mm-hmm. So I was just like the Naya Pake Nepali kid that was in the group, and I was being made fun of here and there. And in my school in Nepal and in my family, like I was kind of like, my dad used to call me like a dada. And everybody was scared of me, loved me, and I come and no one loves me. No one gives any kind of care about me. And I actually hated coming to America. I hated being Nepali. And I think it was, just like when in my mid-20s, I would say, is when I refound the love for my culture. And I don't know where it came from, but one day I was just like, I want to know more about myself. I kind of went on a journey of building my own Nepali community, even with friends, like finding my identity within the culture, the practices I want to continue on and learn about. So it was a big shift that happened. And it was very interesting, I think, coming at such a young age. And looking back now, I have such an advantage of assimilating early on. That helped me in my future. But also, like, as a child, when you come here and you have no support system, and at that time, I don't think the diaspora is what it is today. No one to really talk to or share your experience with. So it was very difficult, but I think, it made me a stronger person today. It builds character, is what I say. It's all my trauma builds character.
Of course. And I love that in some way you're sort of almost translating that in terms of how you're helping people now, right? So I love that story. Sabin, timro kesma, how has it been?
I think it's been ups and downs. And similar to Ashra, when I first came to the US, I saw being Nepali as a weakness, right? Because I didn't see Nepali representation anywhere. Right. Like I was a group of maybe 5 or 6 students in my university, and really detached from the overall Nepali community. And I thought that for a long while. And that's actually one of the things that led me to start creating content on LinkedIn, was that I wanted to be that representation for someone else who might have been struggling with their own identity, to say that, hey, there are Nepalis in the field, and there are Nepalis, out there that are doing stuff, and you can be one too, and that's where like I think you connected with me through LinkedIn, and that I feel like opened a whole new world of Nepalis doing amazing things, and which is one of the reasons why I really wanted to be a part of this cause, because for someone struggling with that, we're building a community, we're building that safe space that can welcome them, that can allow them to grow and really create that better future, not just for themselves, but for future generations. So
no, I like that. I like that we're all turning our trauma or whatever it is, like positive and negative experiences, and sort of building something, right? I think it's still early, that I am so excited about what we're all building together. And I love that, you guys are supporting me on this, right? I think it's, for me, it's, amazing volunteers like yourself that are just giving this life, right? That are showing up and, doing all these amazing things. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. त्यसको लागि चाहिँ. Next, I mean, we talked a little bit about that, in whatever role you have at TGND, right? I mean, one, I guess, I'd love to know a little bit more in terms of why you connected to TGND, right? Or what potential you see with the whole diaspora thing, not just TGND, but overall, and how you see yourself growing with it.
I can go on that. I think, Preeti, it was a month after you started TGND, I was looking for the same community you were building. And I think this resonates with what you and Preetana talked about on the podcast, as well as when she was looking to build this community. It was someone else was also doing the same thing, like the universe wanted it to happen. Like I said, I was trying to find my community, and I built it in Dallas, and then I moved to SF during the pandemic. I didn't have a community of Nepali people that I could connect with on a professional level. I think that we as a community don't have people in spaces that could not just be our mentors, but also sponsor us, like speak our names in rooms that we may not get a chance to be in. And I think that's where my desire for finding this community, building this community came. And just as I was thinking of doing this, you were doing this on a much more bigger scale. And it was very successful. And I think that's why TGND became such a sensational so quickly, is that everybody's feeling this need. And we all want this community, not just to connect and network, but really just put our people on the map and be sponsors when we can, speak names that normally would not have been spoken in rooms, and really take Nepali people and our growth to the next level on a global stage.
Of course. Thank you. And I love that. I think it was a LinkedIn post where you commented, and it just started from that. It's amazing how that works, right? How, we were thinking about the same thing, and the collaboration has just been insane. So I love that story.
Yeah.
Sabin.
Yeah, I can go next. So with regards to, I did this exercise about, at this point, it's probably like 7+ years ago. It was called the Passion Planner. It was essentially like, you have 3 minutes, write down 3 things you want, from your working life, you want engraved on your headstone. And for me, those 3 things were entrepreneur, right? I wanted to build a system where other people can find purpose. Humanitarian, I want to help those that are in need, and who can't lift themselves up. And then third, I wanted to be a teacher, and I wanted to teach the skills that I'm learning to someone who might be early in their journey. And when you reached out, TGND hits all 3, because I get to build out the data science stuff, build out the Minneapolis chapter in terms of helping others. I get to help others, whether it's connecting them with other professionals or creating a safe space for them so that they can connect better. And then lastly, teacher, right? I can get to use my experience to teach other Nepalis to master the things and so I think that was just the perfect time for me, where I had, found some stability in my career, and had some knowledge to share back, and had the time to do it too.
No, I mean, I think that's, I love that we're becoming that excuse, the platform for people to plug in whatever they they think they're good at or whatever, right? But one sort of thing again that I've noticed about the two of you is pretty similar, right? So with both of you, what I love is you can take an idea and run with it, okay? Right? And I think now that's happening more and more with our community as well. That both of you are just like showcase that like the best that I know, right? In terms of it's not just top down matrai chaina, right? Where I say, oh, yesto गर्ने, यसलाई भेट्ने, यसलाई गर्ने, like it's like I can share like a सानो कुरा and you can just like make it come to life even better than what I have imagined, right? So I think when I think about the community and what we're building, what excites me is like people like yourselves, right? That are just like these amazing leaders, not just followers or not just people that actually get it done, but like at an insane level. So I'm hoping we attract more and more of this. We can grow more of this. That's something that's a trait that I love so much, for sure. Next thing, like, when you signed up to volunteer, right? It's obviously a lot of work on both ends and so on. But has there been something, an incident that that has been really pleasant, or some whether it's a testimonial from somebody or somebody that came up and said something that was unexpected in a way that has been a very, a pleasant sort of surprise?
Can you tell this here? I think every event does this for me. Every networking happy hour that I feel this about TGND is there's always new people that come at every event, and every time they come, they light up and they're like, this has never happened at this scale. And when Sabin came, he was not from SF, but he got to come here and join our happy hour, meet people here, expand his network, but also everyone here got to expand their network. And I'm just like looking back, just watching everyone happy, connecting, and it just gives me like a sense of fulfillment. And you can really see the value we add as a community within our diaspora network, because I don't really think that this was being done at this scale before, at least that I had heard about. And it just makes me so proud to be a part of it, and then gives you more energy to do more of these events because you know that it's really, truly adding value. Of
course. I agree.
And Ashra, that event is still like, when I came home, like even after the trip, I left San Francisco and I was just buzzing in Minneapolis for the next week. And I started shooting off emails that I had put aside for a while, or I was just procrastinating on, because I was like, this email isn't perfect. But then all those emails were forwarded to Preeti. Then Preeti had to read all of that energy coming out of that at one point. For me, kind of going back to the question, for me, one of the really cool things that I got to experience was, and Preeti, I think we've talked about this, right? Like in terms of the data science, I want it to be a safe space for Nepalis to gather and really, that be the target audience. But I've always said that it's open to all, right? Because we only can uplift ourselves if we uplift those around us. And that's one of the things that I've seen where we've had, some like a fair amount of non-Nepali folks started to join our events and started to engage in conversation, which has been tremendously energizing for me, because it shows that we're starting to make a difference, and we're starting to make a difference outside. And I think one of the questions was talking about the Nepali brand, right? And really start to curate that Nepali brand and start to have that take shape, apart from, just what Nepal is known for. So,
right. I know. I like that. I like that now there's non-Nepalis joining. And what's also really interesting is the definition of what is a Nepali is also like shifting so much. Okay, right? There's conversations I had last week with somebody that was adopted. So usko first name and last name are not Nepali. Picture matra here, but you wouldn't even know, right? There's so much there's a safe space for people, okay, right? Even that definition, it doesn't have to be that textbook definition of poida poida bhana. It's like I love that we're, apart from all the value we think we provide, that are more than anything else, the safe space is such an important thing, right? I'm so glad we're doing that. Next, let's talk about what you see or what you want the diaspora to be, in a way, right? You see it like from the first events that you guys hosted, right? In terms of whether it's in person in SF or data science and so on. And you see things sort of, mushrooming from that, becoming bigger and so on. That when you think about, okay, next year, where do you see us?
I think for me, where I would love to see in my vision, like my hopes for the diaspora, is that it's not just these like smaller community events, but we are like a tight-knit, safe space that everyone can go to and find, like maybe it's a website, maybe it's an app, where all of the resources are available. We have all of these different hubs and curated events that we do are like recorded, and it's like a bank of knowledge that everyone can just easily tap into and get whatever they need out of that. And then it's also this network of like, it's like almost like a Craigslist. Like I am looking for X, Y, and Z, and TGND has a space that you can go find this information at. And where we're really truly connecting our global diaspora with, and then also with people in Nepal as well. I think that's what I would love to see for TGND's future.
I'm going to echo some of Ashra's things that Ashra spoke on, because like 100%, the first layer is just connect better, right? Like how do we really build that foundation of the network of Nepalis, and especially given, I think Don had mentioned this, or someone else during that meeting and mentioned how Nepal has been the top exporter of students for the last, for a while now, right? Especially if you take per capita into account. And so connecting that diaspora is definitely stage one, which is already happening in so many different ways, but really helping people at scale, right? Like, so how do we scale that out, and how do we create channels that invest back into Nepalis, both at home and abroad, and being able to, build that engine and maintain it, I think is kind of what I'm excited for the future.
Awesome. No, I think 9 months ago, I feel like things have evolved so quickly, and like it's like the possibilities seem endless, right? It's so exciting, and there's a lot of work to do, but there's also like, it feels like we could achieve so much, right? Not just within our community, but overall, I think there's I think it's so exciting to be here. I think I think TGND 2.0 is going to be exciting for sure. Next, we talked a lot about the positives and so on, right? That I'm sure there's some resistance, some hesitation that you see, not because of anything else, but because we're still so new, right? What we're trying to do, or it seems like we're not new at all in terms of what we're trying to do, right? There are a lot of Nepali organizations. There is a lot of activity happening, and others are bigger and have been more established and so on. Do you find this like, even in terms of whether it's somebody just questioning in terms of how is TGND different, or what we're trying to do, is that different, or like just even in terms of your experience of being a part of this and volunteering and so on, do you find external or internal difference? Do you find that?
I don't think with TGND itself, I feel like our messaging has been so strong, and we do have a pretty good presence, that what I'm seeing is people are very excited and they know that yes, there are a lot of Nepali organizations, but I don't think that anyone is really doing it the way we are currently at the moment. And that, at least in my community, I have not seen being questioned. I think that sometimes when you do lead charge on things, there's always a lot of negativity that some people might bring, like, esto garabe huntyo, kina यसरी गरेन. And sometimes that it just feels like you put all this hard work, you put all this effort, and you have this good intention, and still like, when is it enough? Like, will it never be enough?
Right.
When I just did this, so sometimes I feel like that's what I struggle with most sometimes, but that's not very often because I think there are more people looking at it in a positive light than negative.
Yeah, and kind of adding on to that too, like, and Preeti, this is one of the things that we're trying to build in the Minneapolis chapter is how do we connect with some of the organizations that are already here, that already have that network, right? And one of the things that I've noticed TGND do differently is just the scale at which we're doing this, because we're not just saying, hey, let's do something in New York. Maybe that's how it might have started, but it's quickly grown across the globe. Now I was going to say across the United States, but it's across the and there's power to that. And one of the things that I leverage when talking about some of these partnerships is, hey, we have a global network that you can leverage, that your members can leverage. And that's how we add value to your organization, because most Nepali organizations are a little bit localized, right? And that might be just because most of them were formed, right around the 2000s era. And so they're more communities where you celebrate Dasai, you celebrate Tihar, and it's around more of the traditional side of things. But I think a lot of that is trying to transition into how do we build a professional side of it. And it's like, hey, we've all TGND's already done it, so we'll just kind of take what we've learned there and partner with you to build out that side of things. So that way we all learn, right?
Of course, no. I think that's super important, and मेरो पनि my, I guess, message to existing Nepali we're not trying to compete with anybody. We're not trying to say, नराम्रो, हामी राम्रो, and all of it, right? We did see a gap in the market. We're trying to fix it. But maybe I think there's a place for all of us, right? And from our end, and we're always ready to collaborate. I think that's from हाम्रो तर्फबाट चाहिँ that's the answer. We always have this hand extend गरेर बसिरहेको छौँ, right? And I think there's a lot of opportunity in terms of that as well. Even for us to learn from more established organizations. So मेरो hope चाहिँ we see more of that in the days to come as well, right? Whether that we bring value both ends in terms of हामीले अरूलाई help गर्ने र अरूको उसमा पनि. So that's the hope, right? Next time, maybe let's talk a little bit more about your current roles, not just at TGND, but overall, man. Is that what you wanted to be? In terms of your career and so on, was that the plan? Is that a complete change from your dreams?
I used to want to be Madhuri Dixit when I was a baby, so definitely did not do that.
Wait, sorry, that means that we have to do a talent show someday and we have to get a performance.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was obsessed with her and I was like, I'm going to be Madhuri Dixit when I grow up. And that obviously didn't happen. I think for me, I am just really naturally interested in connecting people. So my role right now provides me the space to do that. But I think I really want to, I think Preeti, you and I have talked about this multiple times, is really focused on going into these curated event space where we're connecting people intentionally. That's kind of my career growth trajectory at this moment, but very different from being Madhuri Dixit.
Of course. I used to have, a cousin brother in Nepal, he's older than me, obsessed with Madhuri Dixit. So I remember it was एउटा wall भरि त्यति बेला त I think they were postcards and त्यो magazines so one wall was covered with Madhuri Dixit. So
rightfully so, because she is queen. Still she's still queen, but right? Yeah, hard to attain, but definitely we can all admire.
I on the other hand, and I was thinking about this question because when I was young, people used to ask me, what do you want to be? And I always said, I wanted to be a scientist. And they were like, scientist of what? And I used to watch a lot of Batman at that time because that was really popular. And Batman used to analyze these things and detective and, investigate this, that, and the other thing. I didn't know data science was a career back then because, it only came about a lot later. And so, I tried a lot of quantitative fields to kind of get the Batman experience, right? But eventually I landed in data science and, it is exactly I wouldn't have had it any other way because I've worked in healthcare, I've worked in e-commerce, currently working in CPG, worked in nonprofits, right? But the data is the same, and the things that you can do with data, there is parallels across industries, and now I get to be a scientist of everything. So.
Right? No, it's meant to be.
Exactly.
Right? So, it would be fun, like at some point, if we are able to do an annual retreat this for TGND and have a talent contest and you see what all hidden talents people have. I think that would be fabulous, right?
I would love to see how Ashra measures up to Madhuri Dixit. I feel like
No, please do not do that.
I'd give Madhuri Dixit the run for her money. I don't know.
Oh my God, no, that is absolutely
next SF event.
No, I think that goes missing. Can't be found.
No, ekdam ramailo हुन्छ होला. Next question, say, I mean, though this is much more fun. I mean, there's obviously a lot of students in TGND, right, that are whether they've just come from Nepal or they're just exploring their future career majors, all of it, a lot of different things. What advice do you have? One, just in terms of navigating that professional side, and two, say, I think there's also this. I see a growing importance for the mental health side of things, or especially for people that are just coming in and पढाइको लागि and so on. What is your advice on the duita kuraharu?
I would say just ask help, speak up, tell someone. If you're struggling, I think that within our Nepali community, there is definitely taboo speaking about mental health. I felt this way even growing up in America within the Nepali community. I've seen it with like even moms that when they're struggling, they just don't talk about it. They just push through because just काम गर्दै गर, it'll be fine. But mentality, so just like speak about it. Talk to someone, find a mentor. And if you don't find it within the community, seek outside. I know if you need someone, I am here. I'm happy to be the person. If you just be like, Ashra, I'm struggling, but just speak up and reach out for help, because I think our Nepali students do a very good job about asking for help professionally, for growth, mentor tayo, kam tayo. They feel very empowered to ask for those things. And I'm so glad we're there. But when it comes to the mental health space or, talk about what we're struggling with, we don't really talk about that, and there's taboos. So we have to be the change and just be like, hey, I'm here. Like whatever you need, whether it just you want to like just get it out and vent, or you want advice, or you want resources. I think speaking up is the best place to start, especially for the mental health space.
Yeah, no, 100%. And even I would even add, right, like me myself, I dealt with anxiety and like more the seasonal depression side of things. And one of the things that I didn't do was reach out for help. And I feel like my journey would have been a little bit easier if I had just taken up like resources in college, right? Colleges do have counselors and like spaces where you can kind of get help. And so 100% like ask for help. And to the second question, in terms of like the networking side of things and professional, like trying to find jobs and stuff, one of the things that I kind of look back on is learning to be okay with rejection. And I say that by saying, I sent out about, like when I was looking for jobs, I sent out 400 cold emails to folks all over LinkedIn, right? That's initially how I built my network 7 years ago at this point. And 40 of them wrote back, and I had 10 phone calls with data scientists. And those 10 phone calls, none of them landed me any jobs, but I learned how to tell a story as a data scientist. So in terms of like, I would ask them, hey, tell me a little bit about it yourself. And then they'd tell me their story. And after you hear it enough times, you get to know what's important in the story, so that you get to range your own story and say that, right? And so that was like learning to sell yourself. One of the things, like market yourself, things that I really learned from that experience.
Awesome. This might be a follow-up question for both of you. You meet a lot of people through work or through TGND, and you engage with a lot of people online and offline, right? What are some things that people are still not good at, your networking in general, man, that, our community needs to know, not pointing fingers. And I think we need to talk about these kind of things. What are some things that people still, maybe 2 or 3 things that need to improve on? And then maybe a tip that you've learned and you're using.
I will say when it comes to the asking for jobs or mentorship, sometimes people don't do the work. They're just like, I want this job. What are you hiring? Like, did you do your homework? Do your homework, do the work, do the research. Like, if you're looking for a job within a company, have you looked into our network and seen people that are offering those jobs? I think at our scale, like, we're getting a lot of these questions that we can't provide all these answers if you haven't done the research or know what you want. I think a lot of times people are like, Ashra didi kaam ko jiratsu. And I'm like, okay, what kind of kaam? Like, in what? What are you doing?
What kind of
located? Yeah, what are your interests? I think that my biggest advice would be when it comes to these jobs, at least for job seeking purposes and professional growth, do some of the homework, do some of the legwork. And if you don't know where to start, I think Google has a lot of these resources already, so that when you are reaching out to someone, you are coming with good intention, and also you're prepared so that they are also more inclined to help you. Not just with us, but anyone you reach out to, you're like, hey, I saw this role. I thought these things I find interesting. Would you be able to put a referral for me? If we position it that way, more people will be willing to help than just like, "Malay kaam chahiye, so do you know anyone hiring?"
Right.
And I would add to that is, people try to close the deal too quickly. Like, I've never seen you. I have no idea who you are. Hey, can you refer me to this job? I was like, well, I don't want to, because like, what if you're not as good as you say you are, right? Or what if, because they come in asking for something like, something, but I don't know. It's like with networking, I feel like you need to build the relationship, like, and then maybe at some point, you don't even have to ask. Like, I might even say, hey, there's open positions, like, here, you're applying, something like that. And I feel like that people try to close the deal way too quickly.
They want you to do the homework. They want it to be very transactional. I think, it's changing. I'm a community man, but we still need to be better at it, I think, just in terms of how we treat relationships, and that it's not just, one person is not a stepping stone to another. Still, right? No, I think we're moving in the right directions, for sure, in terms of all of this. Next question, I'd say, we've talked a lot about the diaspora, how you're involved, how your experience has been. How can the diaspora really help people in Nepal? Like in either in our individual capacity or through something like TGND?
I think I will go back to, someone said this to me a few years ago, and it's kind of stuck, is don't be a mentor, be a sponsor. Like, if you know someone in Nepal that's doing amazing things and a leader in their space, like, mention their name. Mention their company, mentor their project, and be a sponsor and not just a mentor for them, but give them jobs. Like, or if you get, an opportunity to do a small project but don't have the bandwidth, be like, hey, I know this person that's really good at it. And we give back in like where they can get the opportunity to prove themselves as well. I think that's a great way that we can start by giving back. There's always, there's nonprofits that you can donate to. There's time you can give back. You can go back, and if you're in the place to take a sabbatical and go to Nepal and volunteer or give time. But I think a very easy way that we could do in our daily lives is just be a sponsor for someone that is not getting that space or that opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, kind of adding on to that too. I think, and that I've struggled with this myself, is whereas like I want to help, but I don't know how, right? Like, and in terms of kind of that perspective, creating channels through which it's easier to help, whether it's through donations, whether it's through time involvement, right? Kind of what we're doing with volunteer time. If we can create opportunities like those, I think that will create that channel of goodwill back towards Nepal, whether it's through expertise, again, time, whether it's money, however that may be. Yeah.
And just to add on that really quickly, I think TGND is doing and other Nepali professional organizations are doing a great job by changing. Like when I first came here and I would tell someone I was Nepali, they'd be like, oh, a Sherpa. But now like Nepali people are data scientists, they're like venture capitalists, they're in different industries. And I think that another great way we as a diaspora are helping is reshaping the conversation about what a Nepali person is, who a Nepali person is.
Right.
And we're not just Sherpas climbing Mount Everest, because I'm sure you guys have been asked, have you climbed Mount Everest before? Like, no, I have not. I was 9.
Right.
One thing I recently realized, so people used to ask me, hey, can you see Mount Everest from your home? And I would always say no. But apparently with COVID, the pollution went down and you can apparently see Mount Everest from Kathmandu. It's just
no way.
so much pollution that...
Yeah. No, it was insane, like in terms of how clear everything was and so on, right? So few benefits, we've seen few benefits of it, right?
With pollution.
Exactly. So now that I like that in terms of, showcasing the oiliko Nepali, right? That we're so diverse as well, right? In terms of what we do, what we look like, everything, like even our beliefs, I think that's important as well, right? I think people have put Nepalis in one box, right? And we're all supposed to be a part of it, that we're not. So I love that we're reshaping all of that, and I love that you guys are doing that with me. I think there's so much more that we can achieve together, that I'm glad that you're on this journey together. On that note, Ashra and Sabin, thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. I think it means so much for me that one, you're volunteering your time, which is the most precious thing ever. I know everybody has options in terms of utilizing their time. I love that you're putting it for TGND, for our community, and the work you do on a daily basis. It's so visible, not just to me, but for everybody. So I love that you're now on the podcast and talking about all of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. It was so great talking to you and sharing the experiences.
Same here.
Perfect. And to all our subscribers, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.